leave those there, turn them on and turn them off as I need to. They're just to help me. So let's build the side view of this object. So that is going to be this space from here to here and from here to here. So I'll show you again over here. So now we're going to be working on the two-dimensional view as if we were looking from this direction. The left edge will be here, the right edge will be here, the top edge will be up here, and the bottom edge will be down here. We've already established the left and right positions of a lot of these edges in the view above. And so the beauty of a multi-view drawing is I can just extend a lot of these pink lines, these magenta lines down, and I've already got those edges, locations established. So I don't have to remeasure for a lot of them. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the lengthen command. I can either find it here in the modify tab, and it looks like this one, or I can just type the word lengthen. So now I've got the lengthen command activated. I'm going to use the down arrow button on the keyboard to give myself some choices. And the one I'm going to pick is dynamic. That allows me to grab onto a line that's on the screen and just stretch it down. So if I zoom into this edge over here, for example, I can just grab onto that line and extend it down a bit. And I'll do the same thing for all of the vertical lines that I have as construction lines. This is going to save me a sit. And hopefully you guys can see the snaps working. So this one, oh, it's grabbing the hidden line, but that's not the problem. I can just undo. I can turn off my hidden lines. Yeah. And I can turn off my object lines. And now I can just focus on I keep getting in the way of that text. I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. I highly recommend that when you're working on AutoCAD, you use a mouse and not the trackpad. The trackpad will cause you endless frustration. The mouse will be a lot easier. All right, I'm going to escape to exit that command. So now I've got some construction lines established for all of the stuff that's happening in the left to right direction. So I've got the positions of this edge, the edge of this hole, this edge right here, this edge, and the back of this round piece. I hope I also have the edges of this hole. Let me check to see if I've got those. I do not. So what I can do is I can turn on my object nodes again, and I can just draw a construction line from this location down to where I'm at. And I can do that again. If you want to repeat commands quickly without doing the keyboard or moving your mouse all the way up to the top, you can right-click on the screen, and your recent commands are here, or the most recent is at the top of the list. So that activates the line command, and I can just draw a new line. All right. So now I need something to indicate that the limits for the top of this object. So I'm just going to draw a horizontal line there. That's as high as I want to go with this. Now I'm going to start offsetting this line down to establish the positions of features in this direction. So the first thing I need is the offset from this higher corner down to this lower corner. Then I'll need the center of this hole. Then I'll need the height or the depth from this top edge down to this corner, and then the distance down to this corner and then to this corner. So first things first, the height from here to here is indicated as 1.5 units. So I will use the offset command and type in 1.5 and then move this line down or copy it down 1.5 units. All right. The next one I'm interested in is the distance to the center of this hole, and that is indicated as being 5 units from the bottom edge. You see this dimension here? Well, this whole fork is only 10 units high, so that tells me that the center of this hole is in the center of this object. So they could have reflected this with a center line right here instead of an extension. It looks like they did in the center of the hole here, but if it were me, I would have put that as a center. So I need to come down another 5 units. So I'm going to use the offset command again and key in 5 units. So that gives me the center of the fork, and I know I can do it again to get the bottom of the fork. So I just offset a line 5 units across. So the next position I'm interested in is this edge, which is 13 minus 5 units from the top. So here's an interesting aspect of dimensioning that you should keep in mind. The height from here to the bottom is marked as 13 units. And they've given me the height from the bottom to this other edge as only being 5 units. That means the difference is 8 units. But they didn't tell me directly the 8 units. If they had, that would have been an instance of double dimensioning, because the information is already there. You just have to do a subtraction problem. One of the reasons too for double dimensioning is if there's rounding errors, you can have 2 dimensions that don't add up to the total. So you want to make sure you leave a little bit of room, and it also just increases the opportunities for errors. So for example, if you're drawing something by hand and you don't have automatic dimensions given to you from AutoCAD, and you just have more places to make. So it's considered bad form to double dimension. So I'm going to copy this construction line down 8 units to give me the depth of this edge right here. All right. So I think I can start tracing some object lines around this guy. And now that I've got the view up ahead kind of guiding me, and if I turn my hidden lines back on, that'll help even more. I can trace around on these construction lines to establish the object boundaries. So I'm going to turn my layer, I'm going to pick my object line layer, and then just start drawing lines. Goes to the hidden line. Oh, I think I'm missing an image. I must be missing an image. Yeah, there's one more down here, right? Another unit and a half down. So I'm going to delete this last line that I drew and copy or offset 1.5 units. This line here. So that should hopefully set me straight. redraw that line, or I can just augment it. Okay. I think I also need an object line in here. Okay, give me the thumbs up. Okay. So, what do I have so far? I've got an area that corresponds to this L-shaped bit, and I've got a rectangle that corresponds to this piece of the floor. What I don't have is an object line for this hole. That's going to be a visible edge. And then I also need some hidden lines to reflect the fact that this hole is penetrating through the thickness, this 8-unit thickness of this piece here. All right. So this, I need the center of this hole in this direction, which I didn't extend down. I should have done that. So let me go ahead and switch over to my center line style and just draw a new line from here down. And then I can make it a little shorter because I don't need the whole thing. So now I have the center of this hole, which is right here. And I can draw a circle with my object line layer using the center and the radius to give me that hole inside. And now I can trace over these lines that I've already drawn over here to establish the hidden lines for the edges of that hole as it passes through the thickness of the object. Using the right-click repeat line command rather than typing. Now, one more thing I have to do is convert. I'm going to turn off my my construction lines just to see where I am. Aha! Yes, I need another couple of center lines. I need a vertical center line here, and then I need a horizontal center line here. So I will use the offset command in the through mode and make sure that my center of circle snap is turned on so that I can grab this center line and move it to that location here. Now, I could go back and turn on my construction lines and add a center line here, but I'll take the opportunity to use a new tool. Like I said, there's a million ways to do things in AutoCAD. I may choose a method, but there's always another method. I could trace over construction lines to establish this center line that goes this way through this hole, or what I'm going to do is just take the center line that I've already drawn and copy it, but rotate it 90 degrees at the same time. So I'm going to take this yellow center line here and make a copy of it, but rotate it 90 degrees. So that gives us a chance to explore a new tool. So up here on the Modify palette, we've got this rotate command. It looks like a curvy arrowhead. And I don't use this one all the time, so I'm just going to have to pay attention to the prompts it gives me. Remember, it's always giving you advice on what to do. So the first thing I need to do is select the object that I want to rotate. So this is the object. I'm done selecting, so I'm going to hit enter. And now it says specify the base point. So I'm going to pick the center of this circle. Remember, I've got my center snap on, so my cursor will gravitate toward the center of that circle. And now it says specify the rotation angle. Well, AutoCAD already likes to kind of jump to 90-degree intervals if you set it up that way. Or I could type it in if I wanted some odd angle. I'm just going to take advantage of fact that I have a mute button over here. I'm gonna take advantage of the snapping to 90 degrees, establish the line here. Well, it didn't do anything. I'm gonna have to repeat that command. So select the object, specify the base point. Ah, there we go. I had to do it this way. I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees. There should be an option where it asks me if I want to delete the original, but I missed that option. I wonder if I need to use a different command. I wonder if I need to use the array command. Let me try it. So I'm going to select the object, hit enter, specify base point, and I'm gonna go for some more. Yeah, there we go. So I use the down arrow to give myself some more options. So I'm going to use copy, and now if I rotate it, I've got a copy, and I'm going to extend this portion out of it so that I've got a center line that extends beyond the limits of the object. That's the side view. So let's draw the end view. I'm going to turn my construction lines back on. Yes?
Is there any way to reflect like the curvature on the right side?
Maybe artistically, yes. But for our purposes, no. Because there's no edge. My construction lines, and now I'm going to extend these construction lines that I've already drawn a little bit over to the right. I'm going to use the length of, actually I'm just going to click on them, find the handle, and make them longer. That's a way to do the same thing as the lengthening command. All right. Now, I've got the vertical dimensions of all of this stuff reflected. So all of these positions are reflected. And I've already established the positions of things that are going to be to the left and right in this view. So I don't really need to do that again. I'm going to use a little trick that consists of drawing a construction line at a 45-degree angle from the corner of this view and use that as a line to reflect all of the things that are happening in this direction down to this direction. So the up-down direction in this view is going to get transformed into a left-right view down here. So the first step is to draw a 45-degree line from the corner of the object. And I can do that by using relative coordinates, so I can type the @ symbol, Shift 2, and then I want to go, I don't know, how big is this thing? I'm just going to say -10 units to the left. So -10 means to the left, just like Cartesian coordinates. And then I'm going to do (10) because I want to go up 10 units. That's going to give me a 45-degree angle. Oh, not quite long enough. I forgot what my units were, but not a problem. I can just lengthen it. And I can make sure that I'm in the dynamic mode. And I'm just going to drag this thing so that it goes past the object in the top view. Now, I can extend all of my horizontal construction lines in the top view to the point where they intersect that diagonal line. So I'm going to turn off my object lines and maybe my center lines. And I'm going to extend these guys. And I can do that, I think, all at once using the extend command. So I'm gonna push this button, and I'm gonna see what it tells me to do. It says, select the objects I want to extend. So I want to extend this one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. That was handy. And for good measure, might as well, I'll just draw that one as a construction line. I'm gonna draw a new construction line from the end of this guy out to here. Now, I can draw vertical lines from the points where all of these horizontal lines intersect this diagonal line to establish the left-right geometry in the end view. And that works just like this. I only really need to draw one, because then I can come up here and use the offset command in the through mode and copy all of these instances over. And so now I have everything I need as far as the locations in this view. I am short something. I know that I need some hidden lines for the hole that's in this view. So let's turn that on and make sure we get those. I'm going to turn my object lines back on. There we go. So what I don't have is the top edge of this hole represented in this view over here. So I'm going to draw a new construction line from here over and from here over. So I've got lots of stuff going on here. If I go back to my view, if I'm looking from this direction, I'm going to see two tall rectangles and kind of a square-looking thing behind it. And I'll see some hidden lines representing this hole as it passes through this tine of the fork and that tine of the fork. So I'm going to focus on drawing these three rectangles, 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll come back and catch these hidden lines. Oh, I also need a hidden line for this invisible edge back here that's not visible when you're looking from this direction. So rectangles first. So the big one is the farthest extent of this object, and we'll use a tool that we haven't used before, rectangle. But I got to make sure I'm on my object line layer first. And rectangle is really easy. You just pick the opposite corners, and presto bingo, you get a rectangle. The next rectangle I'm going to draw is from here to here, and then its companion from here to here. So now I need to draw some hidden lines. These are a bit on top of each other. So the two for this hole correspond to this one and this one. And this guy that's really close is going to reflect something else. So let me turn on my hidden line layer and start drawing. That's the bottom one. all the way across the object at this elevation. And now I'm going to turn. Oh, I also need some hidden lines to reflect these holes, which I think I have in my view. They just happen to correspond with the edges of these objects. Maybe? Is that right?
That is good.
Looks like they darn close. They don't exactly. They did a little bit. So, what I'm missing in my projection, the transformation of lines from this view to the other, is the edges of this hole. So, let me turn on my construction line layer and draw a line from. Actually, I don't need to do that. What I can do is just copy the center of the hole over the distance. So that gives me the opportunity to show you guys a new tool. On the utilities up here, you can measure the distance between things. And so if you specify a distance here and an endpoint there, you get a distance. So this is 1.75 units of radius. I didn't have to revert back to my drawing to figure that out. So now I can offset this center line 1.75 units in each direction. Really close to get the boundaries of that hole. And now I can show it with a hidden line. Yes, you're right, not all the way down. So it goes to this edge right here. So that gives me an opportunity to show you guys the trim command. So if I invoke the trim command, it says select the object to trim. So I want to trim it's not picking it up. I need to turn off the construction line here. Oh, then I lose my trim edge. Oh, no, I don't. So I can use the trim command to trim this line back. Except I lost my trim command. And hit enter. All right, now I can show you guys even another command. So I turned my construction lines off, so I can't just easily trace over something. But what I can do is mirror this line about the center of this object. So to do that, I need to make sure that my midpoint snap is on. And then I can come up here and find this mirror command. And I can select the object I want to mirror. Hit enter. And it says first point of mirror line is going to be the center line of that line. Erase objects, source objects? No, don't want to do that. So now I've got my vertical hidden lines that represent this hole passing through the back of this object. So the only thing now I need is a couple of center lines, and I can redraw those by turning on my center line layer and grabbing one from here and passing it through the object, and then backing it off a little bit. And then I can draw a vertical one through the object and extend it a little bit using the layers. All right. I think I've got everything here as far as the lines are concerned. Yeah, one more thing, missing something?
Yeah, there should be an object line between the columns.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So there should be an object line that reflects, let me show it in this line all the way from left to right here. So I've got these rectangles shown, but I should also see this edge as an object. That's correct. So, I'll turn on my object line layer. pass a line from this corner to this corner. Do I need the same thing at the bottom? Let's take a look. I think we do, because there's no indication that this surface doesn't continue all the way to the bottom of these corners. So I'll finish off the job right here. So none of these views by themselves is adequate to fully explain the geometry of this thing. But all three of them together tell you what's going on. And the orientation of the views with respect to each other tells you which view you're looking at. It is, if you think about this yet, you've got some tabs in AutoCAD. The first one is model. That's where you draw the thing. And the way you do it is always draw it at full scale. If this thing is 2 millimeters, we draw it 2 millimeters. If it's 2 miles, we draw it 2 miles, no matter how big our piece of paper is. Once we switch over to our simulated pieces of paper, we will project what we've drawn in this model space onto the piece of paper at an appropriate scale. So if I open up one of these layout views, it takes a crack at it. It gives me a window into my model space in the middle of this piece of paper. I don't want this, so I'm going to delete it. And I can delete it by just clicking the edge of that model viewport and hitting delete on the keyboard. The first thing I'm going to do, because it's a project requirement, is right-click on my layout and go to the Page Setup Manager and change this piece of paper to an 11 by 17 piece of paper. Right now, it's 8.5 by 11. That's like a standard piece of printer paper. I'm going to change it to 11 by 17. That's a piece of paper that you guys will use all the time in engineering offices. It's basically two 8.5 by 11 stuck together. It's useful because you can print a full-size plan sheet that normally measures 22 by 34 at exactly half size. So if your real project requires you to have big giant plan sheets that are standard ANSI plan sheets, you can print them on a much cheaper printer at half size on an 11 by 17. And you don't have to just print out these giant pieces of paper all the time. So just taking the opportunity to expose you guys to some paper sizes. So ANSI B here is 17 by 11 or 11 by 17, the one is 17 by 11. ANSI D is the one I was telling you before, which is 22 by 34. So you'll see those on some engineering projects. And then architects use some other sizes as well that are less convenient to cut down to half size. So 17 by 11, hit OK, or close. Now I've got a piece of paper with a little bit different aspect ratio. It's wider than it's a lot wider, right? More landscape. Okay, before I do anything else with this piece of paper, I'm gonna put the frame on. The frame is the title block. On Moodle, I have given you a file that is the title block. So if you go to Moodle and you look in the Project 1 files, there is this file right here, CE2700 example title block 11 by 17.dwg. Watch what happens when I click on this link. AutoCAD did not open. That is fine. That is completely expected. What happened is that this file was downloaded to the downloads directory on this machine. So if I go to the downloads directory, either by pushing this button or by opening the File Explorer and going to the downloads directory, I'll see my file. If I double click on this file right here and I don't have AutoCAD installed on my machine, nothing's gonna happen. It won't know what to do with it. So what you have to do is move this file into a location that you have control over, the same directory where you're saving your work for this project, so that those two files live next to each other. So what I have done is in the VLab, I have used my OneDrive to do this. So I've got this example title block in my OneDrive. And then in my VLab session, I put it on the desktop of the VLab session. If I log out of VLab and come back, that file is not going to be on the VLab desktop. It is still in my OneDrive. So, what do you have to do? When you're in the Layout tab, you're going to use a command called xref. That means external reference. One of the most powerful capabilities of CAD is to show the contents of some other file in the file you're in. So imagine you're producing a set of plans that is this thick, right? It's got lots and lots of drawings in it. The title block looks exactly the same on every sheet, except for a few pieces of information, right? You want to draw that title block once. And if you make a change to it, you want that change to propagate and be displayed in every drawing that includes it, right? So using an external reference is the way to do this. Draw the title block once, and then show the contents of that file in every drawing that needs it. So that's what you're going to do. We've only got one drawing, but we're going to use a separate title block file as an external reference. So I'm going to invoke the xref command by typing xref, hitting enter, and I get this new dialog box that opens up. Top left, I've got this button that looks like the symbol for an AutoCAD DWG, and I attach DWG. Then I browse for it. I've got the title block on the desktop, so I just go to wherever in my directory I've got control over this file, and I open it up. It gives me some choices. These are all fine, and it's going to ask me where do I want this thing to land. I'm going to zoom in on the bottom corner of this piece of paper as tight as I can, or as tight as I care to, and just dump it right there. Now I've got a frame around my piece of paper. The contents of this frame live in another file. And if I zoom in on the contents of this frame, you'll notice that this information is not, it doesn't pertain to me. I'm working on ISO 16, and this isn't March 9th, 2023, it's gonna be March something 2025. And my name isn't Blazing Boylan, it's Sam Amoroso, and this is not fall 2020, it's spring 2025. So some of this information has to be changed. So you'll have to do that too. And the way to do that is to simply open up that file in a new tab up here at the top. So now I can open the title block separately. The only thing I'm going to do when I have this title block appearing like this, the only thing I'm going to do is change this text. So I can zoom in here, and I can double click on the text, and I can change this to my name, and then click outside of it, it'll update. Double click on the ISO number, change it. Double click on the date. I don't remember when this project is due, but I'm just going to change this to apply. And then I'm going to come down here and make sure that this is the right year, 2025. All right, now I hit save at the top. The thing that looks like a floppy disk, which is hilariously anachronistic. I don't think I've used a floppy disk in over 20 years. That's what that is. All right, so I've updated this information. If I go back to my drawing file where I'm doing my work, I've got a little notification here. It says, an extra was updated. Oh, that's handy. You'll notice none of the information has changed here, but I am alerted to the fact that it's changed. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to invoke the xref command here to access this file. And now I'm going to right click on the name of the file and say, now I can completely close this other file. Sure, I'll save the changes. I don't need to have that open anymore. Send the back object here. And I'm going to do that by invoking the mview command, mview, and then drawing a rectangle around the usable space in this frame. So AutoCAD has done a pretty good job of fitting the object in this usable space. It brought along these grid lines, which I don't necessarily need. So I can double click on this space, it activates it, and I can come down here to the bottom and turn off these grid lines. You'll notice down here at the bottom, there's some numbers. These numbers refer to the scale at which this object is being presented on this simulated piece of paper. AutoCAD did its best job of fitting, and what it came up with is something that's arbitrary. This, in your project, should be logical. It shouldn't be just some string of numbers. And the way you fix that is by choosing something more appropriate. So, I've got 0.12 as my scale. That's sort of like 0.1, or 1 to 10, right? So let me see what happens if I pick 1 to 10. It changed ever so slightly. But now I've got a logical scale. And if I tell somebody this is a 1 to 10 scale drawing, then that makes sense to them. If I told them it was, 1 over 0.12, that's sort of like 1/8, but not exactly. So logical scale. When I open your drawing, I'm going to go to this layout tab. I'm going to look at this view, and I'm going to double click inside this space, and I'm going to look down at the bottom here, and this better be something logical, right? Okay. If I've got this model viewport open, activated like I do now, and I start moving my wheel mouse, this gets messed up. So I need to fix it, and then double click outside in the gray area to deactivate the model viewport. All right, 1 to 10. Let's file that away. Go back to our model space. Now we need to add some dimensions and some other labels here. We've been on the Home tab the whole time. Let's go to the Annotate tab. In the middle here is Dimensions. You have a choice right in the middle to use either Standard or Annotated. Pick Annotated. And then also manage the dimension styles for the annotated dimension style, modify them, change the arrow size to 0.12, what do you think about that? This is a metric drawing. Go to text, change the text size to 0.12. And then on the primary units, don't use any more precision than you need to. None of my dimensions needed more than 2 digits. None of you need 4. Some of you might need 3. But I shouldn't see 4 digits after the 0, after the decimal point. So I'm going to change this to 2. Now I'm going to hit OK. And close. So to dimension this thing, I'm going to start adding dimensions, but first I need to make sure that I'm on the annotation layer, or maybe dimensions. Yeah, I have dimensions on. So I'm going to start adding some aligned dimensions here. And now it wants me to pick a scale. I'm going to pick my 1 to 10 scale and see if that works for me. It may not. Oh, I need to do linear. All right, that looks pretty good. Is that the right unit? 50.5? All right, I'm gonna give this guy a little bit of real estate up to the top here because I know I need some other dimensions that are gonna have to fit underneath it. So let me get another linear dimension between here and here. Oh, yeah, there we go. And another one between here and here. And now I can choose a different dimension type. I can do a radius. And I can point at this guy. You'll notice I chose to come down here because I didn't want my leader line to cross my extension line. That's a no-no. Now I can do a diameter on this guy. And if I want to, I can put some dimensions out here for these elements using linear. Oh, I need to go here. So first overall dimension is here. Move that kind of out a bit. Then do another one from here to here. I don't really like that. I don't like this extension line going over my object line. I'm going to undo that and choose a different way of putting it in. Now my extension line isn't actually touching my object line. I like that better. And one more. Okay. So implied with all of these dimensions is the distance between the fork points. If I add up 1.5, 4, 4, and 1.5, I'm going to get 8 plus 3 is 11, which leaves me 4 units left over for the space in between. So I didn't dimension this, but that's okay. Let's see, I'm missing a dimension to the center of this hole right here. That's okay, I can cover that one on the view down below. And in fact, left to right, the only thing I really need to catch is the width of this guy and the location of this hole. So let me dimension linear here. And dimension linear here. So in combination with all of the other dimensions that I've already given up here, I don't have anything left and right to add on this view. I can add some stuff in the up and down direction. I think first I'll do the overall height of this guy. dimensions here. I don't need the one down here because I can do the math and figure it out. So on this view over here, the only thing that's missing is the position of this center line right here. Oh my. Nice. Everything else is established. Oh, I need the diameter of this hole. Okay. However, the center line of this guy right here corresponds to the center line here, which is at the center of the whole object. So honestly, there's no real dimensions I need to show in this view that aren't already indicated